live commentary before we cross over for the live parliamentary proceedings that we expect to commence at about 14:30 hours. My name is Taza Piri.
And my name is Mutali Felilesmate, joined by our sign language interpreters, Chola Kalma, and of course later on Jason Manda. So to start our program today, and of course in giving you this live commentary, we take a look at business that was considered on the floor of the House on Friday, 10th April 2026. Taza, maybe we start from there.
Yes, indeed. And on Friday, notice was taken at 9:03 hours that quorum not formed. Madam First Deputy Speaker ordered the bells to be rung and House counted. And quorum having been formed, business commenced. And when business commenced, Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from the following schools: Breno Academy, Zambia in Lusaka District, and Mukobeko Secondary School in Kawe District. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
After that, there was yet another announcement that was made on the floor of the House, and in this announcement, Madam First Deputy Speaker informed the House that Northern Opticians and Eye Clinic had been granted permission to conduct a free comprehensive eye screening campaign for members of Parliament and members of staff of the National Assembly of Zambia. Madam Speaker, in her announcement, stated that the exercise would include comprehensive eye examinations, general wellness assessments, including weight measurements, blood pressure monitoring, and blood sugar screening. Madam First Deputy Speaker further stated that the screening would take place from Monday 13th to Thursday 16th April 2026 from 09 hours to 16 hours, and on Friday 17th April 2026 from 09 hours to 13 hours at the main reception area, Parliament Main Building. And in her announcement, she encouraged honourable members to take advantage of the very important health initiative.
And after those announcements, the House went on to consider urgent matters without notice, and the following urgent matter without notice, Understanding Order 142 was raised. Mr. Stephen Kampyongo Shiwangandu, Member of Parliament, did raise an urgent matter without notice, whose subject matter was on how credible some of the nominees appointed to serve as judges of the High Court, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, in view of the public concerns regarding their alleged participation in political campaigns and involvement in illegal activities. This matter was inadmissible.
Thereafter, the House then moved on to consider questions without notice during the Vice President's question time, and you'll note that this takes about 45 minutes. This is when members of Parliament, that is backbenchers, are given an opportunity to pose questions to Honour the Vice President. But the catch is that these questions have to be in line with government policy. So having considered questions without notice during the Vice President's question time, the House then moved on to consider question for oral answer number 293, Understanding Order 82. And this question was a question of an urgent nature, as it is provided for Understanding Order number 82.
Yes, indeed, Muta. And thereafter, the House did consider question for oral answer number 294, Understanding Order 80, which is a question of ordinary nature. And notice was taken at 10:02 hours that quorum not formed. Madam First Deputy Speaker ordered the bells to be rung, House counted, and quorum having formed, business resumed.
Thereafter, there were two motions that were moved on the floor of the House. The first one was moved by Kankoyo, Member of Parliament, Mr. Mabeta, and he did move a motion to adopt the report of the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters, that the House adopts the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters on the state of sports in schools for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 7th April 2026. And as I said, this motion was moved by Kankoyo, Member of Parliament, and it was adopted. The report was adopted.
And thereafter, the House went on to consider the second motion that was moved by Mr. Fred Jatila, who is Member of Parliament, urging that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the effectiveness of Zambia's extended credit facility and its impact on budget support and debt sustainability for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 7th April 2026. And this motion was adopted. The House adjourned accordingly at 12:31 hours. So that's the business that was considered on Friday. We now shift our attention to today's order paper. That's the business we expect the House to consider this afternoon. We do expect some announcements, if there'll be any. We expect the House to consider urgent matters without notice, if there'll be any. And we also expect the House to consider 8 questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80. These are questions of ordinary nature, and thereafter we do expect the House to consider 2 motions. We get into the details.
Okay, so the first question for oral answer that will be considered on the floor of the House, and as Taza did indicate, these questions for oral answer are provided for understanding order number 80, meaning these are questions of an ordinary nature. So the first question that is going to be considered on the floor of the House will be posed by Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalo Mukosa. His question will be directed at the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. He asks this question in 3 parts. In the first part, he actually wants to find out at what percentage of completion the construction of the Palasa Road from the Chinsali District headquarters via Cheswa to Kalonswe village in Chinsali District was as of September 2025. And then he further wants to know what the cost of the outstanding works was and when the project will be completed. So that will be a question that will be posed by Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalo Mkosia. This is question 295.
And we do expect Mr. Chinga Miutu, who is Kalabo Central Member of Parliament, to ask question 296 to the Minister of Education. He wants to know in A, what measures the government is taking to improve the teacher-pupil ratio in rural schools, and in B, whether the measures mentioned earlier include the cabin of frequent transfer of teachers from rural to urban schools.
So those are just some of the questions for answer we expect the House to consider this afternoon. But after the questions for answer, we do expect a motion. This motion will be moved by Kawama Central Member of Parliament, Brigadier General Stwala, and his motion is to adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs, that the House adopts the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the operations and management of the Police Permanent Security checkpoints and mounted patrols for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 10th April 2026.
And thereafter, we do expect Mr. Remember Mtale, who is Chitambo Member of Parliament, to move a motion to adopt the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements on the ratification of the Southern African Development Community Protocol on Employment and Labor for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 9th April 2026. And so those are the 2 motions that we expect the House to consider this afternoon. And as you can see on your screens, Madam First Deputy Speaker's procession making its way into the chamber. And just now, we take you to the floor of the House. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Yeah. Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We won freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen.
You're still watching Parliament TV, the station dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. In a short while, members are still settling in, so we do expect business to indeed commence once members are all settled in. And earlier on, we just did to give you a rundown of the business that we expect the House to consider. We do expect some questions for oral answer, about 8, and 2 motions. Taza, we just did inform our listeners of the 2 motions. There are some other questions that we didn't look at. Maybe we can share those with the dear viewers.
Yes, indeed, we do expect Mr. Christopher Kangombe, Council Member of Parliament, to ask question 297 to the Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts. And just now, we take you to the floor of the House.
Order. Honorable members, I have some announcements to make. I wish to recognize the presence in the Speaker's Gallery of the following members of Parliament and staff from the European Parliamentary Forum, EPF, for Sexual and Reproductive Rights. Honorable Henrik Bratstotte, MP from Austria and head of delegation. Honorable Gudrun Brungard, MP from Sweden. Honorable Alison Comney, MP from Ireland. Honorable Eva Marais Alexandra, MP from Portugal. Honorable Eva Luna Pino, MP from Portugal. Honorable Richard Hoden, MP from United Kingdom. Honorable Helena Matitila, MP from Finland. Mr. Leondas Garidas, staff of the EPF. And Mr. Sakiska Pefea, staff of the EPF. I wish on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia to receive the distinguished guests and warmly welcome them in our midst. I thank you. The next announcement, Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Konkora Copper Mines Secondary Trust School in Chidirabombwe District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seat. The next announcement. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of students from Cavendish University in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. The last announcement. Honorable members, on Wednesday, 8th April 2026, during the presentation of government bills, the Green Economy and Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026, was referred to the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism. However, it has been brought to my attention that the said committee has other work to attend to. So in this regard, the National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026 is now being referred to the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements for consideration. The committee is required to submit its report to the House in due course. And honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. I thank you. We make progress. We now move to urgent matters without notice. The honorable member for Chawama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. The urgent matter without notice was supposed to go to the Ministry of Home Affairs. Of course, in his absence, it goes to the government leader of business. This is concerning the recruitment of the police officers across the nation. There is serious news that is roaming around that on average, optimum, moderately, 4,000 officers have been recruited. Quietly and secretly. Ordinarily, when such recruitments are made, all we know is that there must be a solid Treasury authority from Ministry of Finance. That's number one. Number two, there must be aptitude tests for such officers. Number three, there must be some medical tests. And of course, there must be some fingerprints for the same. Madam Speaker, as I'm talking now, I've got over 200 applicants in my office in Chawama constituency to tell them the truth, what is obtaining concerning this recruitment. Your Honor, the Vice President, the nation wants to know whether this exercise has taken place, whether this exercise has taken place in the country, because to me this is a huge anomaly if such an exercise has taken place. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence. I thank you.
Database.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Order. I will request the Minister of Home Affairs to come to the House on Wednesday just to update the nation how the recruitment was done. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. My urgent matter without notice is directed to the Minister of Health, but I can't say the Minister of Health in the House. I direct this to the Leader of Government Business. Madam Speaker, the Invest Teaching Hospital is the biggest public hospital in this country. However, when I passed through today, I discovered that the institution is facing a number of challenges, such as the shortage of reagents, that even basic laboratory tests are becoming a problem, like full blood count, HB, and so on. Madam Speaker, the situation is quite very unfortunate, that even water supply at that institution, where only the institution is only receiving maybe water for 3-4 hours, sometimes the whole day, there is no water at UTH. And yet, Madam Speaker, the country has recorded an outbreak of cholera. Now, is the Minister of Health, in order to keep quiet without coming to this August House and update the nation what measures, what immediate measures government is taking to ensure that that facility is able to provide the quality health services to our people? I seek your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama South, you are too broad. You are not specific as to what you want the minister to bring out. However, this matter is important. I would advise you to come up with an urgent question, because you mentioned medicines, blood supplies, water. We really don't know what you are looking at. Can you be specific as you come up with an urgent question? The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the good people of Mbabala, I would like to report to our Honor the Vice President the cut-off of the people of Mwanancheu on the Pemba Road on a collapsed, very important bridge. And we need her immediate action to reconnect Mwanancheu area to the rest of the constituency, as that area is very vulnerable with the hunger and related problems. But we have this collapsed bridge, which is a crucial bridge, Madam Speaker, that saves the people of Mwanancheu in Mangunza Ward. I thank you.
When did the bridge collapse?
It collapsed. No, it collapsed.
Members?
It collapsed over the weekend, Madam Speaker. It was completely gone over the weekend. So today is the first opportunity for us to report it.
Okay. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbabala, I would advise you to come up with a question. And please visit the office of Her Honor the Vice President, so that maybe if it's so urgent, some help may be given to the people of Mbabala. Come up with a question, Honorable Member for Mbabala. I thank you. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 295.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, question from Honorable Kalorem Kosa, Member of Parliament for Chinsali, to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development 3 questions. At what percentage of completion is the construction of the Pambalasa Road from the Chinsali District Headquarters via Cheswa to Kalonswe village in Chinsali district was as of September 2025. B, what the cost of the construction works was, and C, when the project will be completed. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. To A, as of September 2025, the rehabilitation of the Pambalasa to Kalonswe Road via Cheswa was 18.7% complete. B, the cost of the outstanding works is approximately 25 million kwachas. C, the expected completion date for the entire project is March 2027, which is next year. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Supplementary questions? There's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Minister. Madam Speaker, thank you so much for according me this opportunity to raise a very important point of order, which is anchored on the violation of the constitutional provision. Madam Speaker, I do raise this point of order on Her Honor, the Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, Mrs. Mtale Nalumango, in her capacity as leader of government business in the National Assembly of Zambia. Madam Speaker, the provision I would like to read is Article number 82 in the Republican Constitution. And I go straight to sub-article 3, which reads, and I quote, there shall be 2 deputy speakers of the National Assembly who are not members of the same political party and of the same gender. End of quote. Madam Speaker, Your Honor, the Vice President, are you in order to allow the defection of Honorable Moyo to UPND when you know that Honorable Moyo is a deputy speaker and the speaker presiding now is also a member of the UPND? 2 deputy speakers belonging to the same UPND now are sitting here. Are you in order to allow this violation of the Constitution? I seek your ruling, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. I wonder why you have involved Her Honor the Vice President. Where does she come in the issue of the deputies? That is an individual choice, just like any other person. So the honorable member for Lunte, please do not allow, you are out of order, to include Her Honor the Vice President. You should have just gone straight to your matter. What is it that has been breached? Who has breached the matter? Instead of involving Her Honor the Vice President. So for that, the honorable member for Lunte, you are out of order because you didn't raise the matter the way it's supposed to be raised. You are involving Her Honor the Vice President into a matter which he has no hand in. So that point of order is not admissible. Supplementary questions. The honorable member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. Honorable Madam Speaker, I would like to find out from the the Minister what the current status of this very important road is in terms of percentage of completion. This is the road from Chinsali passing through Cheswa to Kalonswe in Chinsali. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Mokosa, for that question. Madam Speaker, I did state in my statement that the works are at 18.7% complete. And this project is expected to be completed next year, March 2027, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was listening very attentively to the response that was provided by the Acting Minister of Infrastructure to the question that was raised by my colleague from Chinsali. The response, Madam Speaker, indicates that there is 25 million kwacha that is needed for this project in Chinsali to be completed. And this project, according to the Minister, will be done by end of March 2027. I want to find out from the Acting Minister of Infrastructure, on behalf of my colleague seated next to me, have you made provision in terms of availability of resources to guarantee that by March 2027, this project, Madam Speaker, would have been attended to as per commitment that has been made on the floor of this House? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the question from the junior engineer. Madam Speaker, this is a government that commits funds to any project that it starts. Madam Speaker, already there's a budgeted amount of over 92 million allocated for this road infrastructure, I submit.
The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am getting consent with the rate at which this project has been moving. Madam Speaker, the Minister, in his response, he indicated that so far, only about 18 to 19% of this project from Chinsali passing through Chambeshwad, Cheswa to Kalonswe has been done. Only about 18 to 19%. And the contractor has been on site for more than 18 months, Madam Speaker. So in 18 months, the contractor has only done 18%. We are now in April, and the Minister is indicating that the completion period or date for this very important project is March next year. So basically, we are remaining with 11 months. So how possible is it that this contractor, being supervised by our current government, he is going to complete this very important project in the remaining 11 months, whereas in the past 18 months, he has only done 18%. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for that interesting question. Madam Speaker, the information I've got at hand is that there was a site meeting, I think yesterday or the day thereafter, and that the works will soon commence, and I can give the actual money already paid to the contractor. The amount is 71,423,370 has been certified and paid. So far, there is no outstanding amounts of monies owed to the contractor. And going by what was discussed, the contractor has promised that these works will be completed next year, I submit.
Thank you. There's an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member from Nkana. What is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, one of our solemn duties as members of Parliament is to protect and defend the Constitution. I, in particular, when I came to Parliament, I saw that before that table. Madam Speaker, there is seemingly a contravention of our Constitution, which I thought I should bring to your attention. Now, by Article 72(2) of our Constitution, it instructs, the Constitution instructs, that the office of a Member of Parliament becomes vacant if, in G, one Member of Parliament having been elected to the National Assembly as an independent candidate joins a political party. Madam Speaker, one of our Members of Parliament decided over the weekend to join the ruling party, the area Member of Parliament for Lwangeni. Madam Speaker, will this House be in order not to declare this seat vacant as instructed by the Constitution? Because failure to do that, this particular Member of Parliament will continue to enjoy privileges only supposed to be enjoyed by Members of Parliament that are defined so by the Constitution. I wish to place it to you, Madam Speaker. Failure to do that will cause irreparable damage to the repute of this House. I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. So this is a third matter of the similar nature. So I'm going to reserve the ruling so that I start the matter. Thank you. We make progress. The next question, the Honourable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 296.
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Mewto of Karabo Central asked the Minister of Education, A, what measures the government is taking to improve the teacher-pupil ratio in rural areas, and B, whether the measures above include the curbing of the frequent transfer of teachers from rural areas to urban areas. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House as follows. A, the government recognizes that the teacher-pupil ratio remains a key determinant of the quality of education, particularly in rural areas and hard-to-reach areas. To address this, the Ministry of Education is implementing several measures. First, the government has continued recruiting and deploying teachers across the country. From 2022 to 2024, a total of 41,917 teachers were recruited, with priority given to rural and underserved schools. In addition, the recruitment of 2,000 teachers is underway to further improve staffing levels. Deployment is guided by approved staffing norms to ensure districts with the highest deficits are prioritized. Second, the ministry has strengthened the regulation of teacher movements. Newly recruited teachers are required to serve at their first station for a minimum of 4 years before transfer, except under exceptional circumstances. Transfers are also encouraged on an exchange basis to ensure that schools do not remain underserved. Third, the ministry, through DEPS and provincial education offices, facilitate the redistribution of teachers within districts and provinces, particularly from overstaffed schools to those with shortages in rural areas. Fourth, the government is improving teacher distribution through staffing audits and the use of the Education Management Information System to guide deployment decisions. Fifth, the ministry is promoting teacher retention in rural areas through incentives, such as staff housing, payment of hardship allowances, and improving working conditions in newly constructed and upgraded schools. Sixth, the government is expanding education infrastructure, including the construction of 120 new secondary schools, completion of 46 stored secondary schools, and construction of 260 early childhood education centers, which helps reduce overcrowding and improves the distribution of teachers. Seventh, the means with strengthening teacher training by increasing the output of qualified teachers from colleges and universities, particularly in mathematics, science, and technical subjects, which are in short supply in rural areas. Through these measures, the government aims to progressively improve teacher-pupil ratio and ensure equitable access to qualified teachers. And B, indeed, the measures above include the curbing of the frequent transfer of teachers from rural to urban areas. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kafisa.
Madam Speaker, thank you once again for the opportunity to direct a follow-up question to the Minister responsible for education. Minister, if today you asked your officers to provide information in terms of the number of teachers that the government has deployed in the rural areas who have actually moved away from their stations, Minister, you will be very shocked with the numbers, and that is why I think the Honourable Member for Kalabo did raise this very, very important issue. Madam Speaker, my follow-up question to the Minister. You've put in measures, you've listed measures that you think will prevent teachers from moving from the rural part of Zambia to seek transfers into the urban setup. Yet, Minister, this is still happening, despite the measures that you've listed. Madam Speaker, I want to find out from the Minister of Education, considering that the steps you've taken are still not preventing people from pushing in transfers, what other steps do you think you should take, or what do you think has to be done to ensure that these teachers are placed where they've been assigned by your government to perform duties for our schools? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Education.
The answer is that if you move from where you are stationed to other places, you have fired yourself.
The Honourable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I appreciate the responses given by the Honourable Minister for Education. Honourable Minister, the concern really is on the discrepancy, the variation between the teachers in urban areas and those in rural areas. You have indicated that teachers have been deployed to rural areas. But, Honourable Minister, despite that deployment, this migration, the transfer, the movement of teachers from rural has affected the rural so much. So, other than the agreement the teachers have signed, that they have to stay to those allocated schools for 4 years before any transfer, isn't the government thinking of a measure? Like you are saying, if you don't find yourself at that school, you are fired. But they are not fired. So, Honourable Minister, really, how can you make this very practical so that the teachers can refrain? You will find that a teacher, the name appears at a school in a rural area, but the actual teacher is elsewhere. Honourable Minister, help us. Amongst those measures, maybe they are not very effective. physicality, the available teacher should be at that school. What measure can help us? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I don't know what I'm going to say now because I've given an array of measures. So, one other measure is that now I'm speaking to would-be teachers or those who are teachers. Immediately we do that and we spot you, we remove you on the payroll.
The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And Honorable Minister, thank you very much for all the measures that you have outlined. But quite clearly, for this question to come back on the floor of the House, it simply means these measures have not adequately worked. And you know that because you have not even told us the pupil-teacher ratio in these rural schools, because the ratio is very worrying. One of the issues that has contributed to this is the UPND policy of families being put together. And I'm sure that is one problem that is constantly on the desk in your office, where a couple is saying, the policy says we should be together. So you deploy, and the husband or wife has to come back. Mine has been the very fact that the teacher-pupil ratio has been somewhat worrying. I have been calling on this floor of the House for your ministry to look at other methods that you could probably engage teachers on apprenticeship programs. Because what we have now is an education policy created by the government which encourages children to be in school. So on one hand, we have the children and the necessary supporting infrastructure. But on the other, we don't have the teachers. And I think that's a concern that is everywhere. Now, if you look at the government structure in terms of empowerments and so on, there are loans at community level, at national level. There's this empowerment fund, there's this skills fund. So there's money all over, which the government can easily sit down and point to where resources can come from to support these rural teachers and to support your schools. When are we going to hear something practical in that line so that we capture those teachers that are in our rural areas to support this education system, which is working reasonably well so far and is not discriminating any child? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam, I hope I got your question properly. You were talking about apprenticeship.
You want him to repeat the question? The Honorable Member for Kantanshi, summarize and repeat the question.
Madam Speaker, I was referring to the resources available. If you look at empowerment, loans, all these monies that are meant to support the social, economic, activities for our people. So we have a crop of teachers trained out there which are failing to be employed because obviously the financial position does not allow. But we have also got spillovers of resources, which if the ministry was to tap into, we can have teachers that are going to be, or teacher helpers that are going to support, this teacher-pupil ratio, which is very worrying in the rural areas, even in the urban areas. So I was just asking the minister when we're going to see that happening, because we have responded in education, food, supporting the girl child, but what about the actual teacher to be available for making sure that that child gets a proper education? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I think the suggestion is welcome. We'll look into that. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, I think this issue is not your issue as per se, Yes, we know that you are the minister, you are responsible for that ministry. But there are officers who generate these letters to our officers or teachers in rural areas, probably without you knowing. The teachers just receive letters that you have been transferred to Lusaka. In my constituency, they are such, without any replacement, and they move with the PEMIC numbers. So I want to find out from you whether you can allow us to go and see the district education officer to say, can you give me the letters that you had received from the ministry, so that we can bring them to you to say, look, these are the officers who are transferring these people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
It wasn't really a question. He said, can you allow us? Yes, I've allowed you.
Are you satisfied, the Honorable Member for Chipiri?
Madam
It's
Speaker,
okay, the Honorable Member for Chipiri.
No, Madam Speaker, the answer is very clear. What he's saying is this, that all of us, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kalabo, can you phone the director, the district education officer, to give you the names of those teachers who have been transferred, so that you will be able to know who is the author of those transfer letters? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving a chance to the people of Lundazi to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Education. I hope you'll be able to get my question and answer it appropriately. Madam Speaker, as rural parliamentarians, just like my fellow member of parliament there, we have a problem. To justify that you have employed 30,000 teachers, and yet in schools they are not there. This is because the people who have been employed are moving with PEMIC numbers. They just get them from the remote areas and they leave to go and join their partners or to go and find better places where they want to offer their services. Now, Honorable Minister of Education, I know you being a teacher, it's very sad for pupils to walk long distances, and yet they will not find a teacher there. And yet the government is claiming that they have employed 30,000 teachers. Honorable Minister, yes, you can say that. You are coming to a rural constituency. That's why you've run away from Munali. Madam Speaker, he has run away from Munali this year. You have come to the rural area. You see the challenges we are facing.
Order, Honorable Member for Lundazi, you are out of order. You
Madam
were
Speaker,
given the floor to ask a question.
Can I just finish the question to the Honorable Minister of Education?
Can you
Honorable
please,
Minister.
The Honorable Member for Lundazi, can you please go straight to your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The movement starts at recruitment. This idea of recruiting members or officers secretly and from the database is what results to this. Are you going to replace those teachers who have gotten the PEMIC numbers from our districts with the local teachers who have been trained and they are sitting and are ready to offer the services? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
First of all, we are not claiming. Teachers were recruited and we are paying them. Now the suggestion that you are giving me, yes, we'll do that.
The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I appreciate your responses. Madam Speaker, the issue of rural and also remoteness. The incentives which the government is offering and giving to the teachers serving in the rural areas. These incentives, Honorable Minister, are you satisfied that the teachers are adequately receiving these incentives at the rightful time? Are there no complaints of teachers not receiving these allowances or incentives? And if there are those concerns like we have experienced, don't you think they can affect the teachers to encourage the move from the rural to the urban areas? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The incentives, yes, are there. They could be not be enough, but teachers are professional teachers. I don't think that can easily take a teacher from wherever they are simply because the incentive is coming late. As you might know, these teachers are hardworking. For the first time, we had to reach 70% of pass rate, meaning that they are putting in their efforts, and we are also looking into their problems. Thank you.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the gap between, let me simply say, the teacher-pupil ratio in rural areas continue to increase. This is due to the fact of the continuous migration of teachers from rural areas to urban areas. And we've been proposing to successive governments that the solution, Honorable Minister, is perhaps to attach permit numbers to schools. For instance, if Honorable Siakarima is a teacher at Kasandwe Secondary School, and he decides to leave that school with a permit number. So it will be prudent for the government to attach permit numbers to schools so that if a teacher decides to leave that school, he automatically loses the job. Minister, are you considering to attach permit numbers to schools so that we stabilize the migration from rural areas to urban areas? Minister, Madam Speaker, I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is a very, very good suggestion. And I think we will look into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I have the honor and privilege to ask question number 296.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Christopher Kangombe, me, I'm always protected by the Speaker, so I don't always ask for protection because I'm always protected. Madam Speaker, I've just arrived from Kaputa constituency, and the people of Kaputa are very excited that the President of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, who is also the party president, went unopposed. That is the confidence and the trust that the members of our party have deposited in Hakainde Hichilema. With that, Madam Speaker, Honorable Kangombe is asking the question, and the question is whether the government has to construct a skills training center in Zamtan Township in Kamfinsa parliamentary constituency.
In B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And in C, what the estimated cost of constructing the center. And in D, if there are no such plans, why? Our response, Madam Speaker, is disturbing the minister, this one.
Honorable Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The area member of parliament may wish to note that it is always our desire as government to construct youth resource centers in all the under 16 districts in order to facilitate enhanced youth access to skills training. However, Madam Speaker, the government has no immediate plans. We do not have immediate plans, but we are
Order, honorable members on my left. Order. We want to hear the response from the honorable minister. I don't want to ask some people to leave the house. Can we have order in the house? Please take your seat. The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts, please proceed with your response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. Before I was rudely interrupted, I think I was answering that we do not have immediate plans to construct a youth resource center in Zamtan Township in Kamfinsa constituency. In B, Madam Speaker, as we have stated in A, that the minister has no immediate plans to construct a youth resource center in Zamtan Township. However, we always, as a ministry, encourage our colleagues, because this is not the first question, to also tap into the CDF to consider planning for these things. When you start, definitely we may be able to also join you somewhere or halfway so that we can construct these resource centers. The estimated cost of constructing a youth resource center, generally, Madam Speaker, we have two categories. One, a basic skill training center, which costs between 5 to 10 million. We also have a very well-equipped skills training center with matching infrastructure, which costs between 30 million and 60 million kwacha. So, Madam Speaker, indeed, we have already stated in A and B above. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There was an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity given to me to raise a very serious point of order. Madam Speaker, when you guide, we are all under obligation to follow and adhere to your guidance. Not too long ago, Madam Speaker, you guided in this House that no one should take advantage of this platform to campaign for anyone. However, the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport has taken advantage of his position and is campaigning for his candidate. Whereas, Madam Speaker, here, you've told us not to campaign for our viable candidate, Honorable Brian Mundubire, the incoming President of the Republic of Zambia. Madam Speaker, is in order to defy your own ruling, Madam Speaker, the ruling that all of us should adhere to, even us who have a very viable candidate by the name of Honorable Brian Mundubire. We are not campaigning. Is in order, Madam Speaker, to take such a stance. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
What has been breached, the Honorable Member from Pika?
Madam Speaker, your guidance, Madam Speaker, your own ruling is what he has defied, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member from Pika, when you are raising a point of order, it has to come as a result of a breach, and it's affecting the proceedings of the House. I'm asking you what breach has been committed. You cannot answer. So, because of that, honorable member, your point of order is not admissible. We make progress. Supplementary questions. The honorable member for Chirubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The reason why youth centers, skills centers were created is to counter risky behavior from the youths. The minister sits on a population mainly between 15 to 35. In Zamtan, when we will talk about Zamtan, it is where young people are quite vulnerable and they can easily slip into risky behavior. It tabulated two categories of what would cost as skills center. But I think when you look at Zamtan, it should fall into the second category. And he pointed to the issue of CDF, meaning that when you look at the second category, it takes away from the domain of CDF, meaning you can't spend, of course, he has more words, he can't spend 40 million or 30 million on what, and is spared because it's just catering for one. What measures? I know that the answer was a bit casual, but what measures are they putting to counter risky social habits in Zamtan? Because the skills center is supposed to keep the youths busy. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Please, let's try to be focused. This is a constituency-based question. We are talking about Kafinsa parliamentary constituency. So let's not generalize this question. The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first I want to apologize if you had given any guidance and I was not in the House, because I've just arrived, so in case you had given that guidance, and also to state that I was not campaigning. There's a distinction between congratulating someone and campaigning for someone. In case my colleagues do not understand, when you congratulate, doesn't mean that you are campaigning for someone. I thought I should declare that one. Now, coming to the question from a follow-up question from my colleague, Member of Parliament for Chirubi, Madam Speaker, let me first correct that narrative. Resource centers or skill centers were not put in place just for combating risk behavior. No, that could just be one of, so that we do not have a situation where people may take, I know students are listening, and other people are listening, young people are listening. That is the very wrong narrative where we say these were established to only combat risky behaviors. It's to provide skills to the young people. That is the main objective, to give skills to the young people. Obviously, as you are giving skills, there is also a component where you can teach someone to behave in a manner that is acceptable to what is supposed to have. So, Madam Speaker, when we are talking about skills development, in Kafinsa constituency is in Kitwe, where we also have KVTC, Kitwe Vocational Training Center. So, when we do not have one in Kafinsa residents can take advantage of the Kitwe Vocational Training Center to acquire skills. What we are saying is that we do not completely abandon the issue of giving them a resource center. But there is at least one that an alternative resource center that they can use. And I didn't say that we are not giving them. All I said was plans are there, but we do not have the resources. We do not want to give promises here. So what we are saying is that whenever we have resources, we can do that. I have seen some members of parliament who have already started constructing resource centers. One of them is Honorable Elvis for a stage. They used CDF. Madam Speaker, it's in this house where I pleaded with members of parliament that my ministry has not really tapped much into CDF. It's high time that members of parliament can also tap into CDF. These are capital projects. So obviously, we can also have some share of CDF so that we can also construct youth resource centers in our respective constituencies. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kanfinsa.
Madam Speaker, the area that we are discussing, Zamtan, I'm sure the minister responsible for health is very familiar with the location of Zamtan. Minister of Youth, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Youth and Sport is aware of the location of Zamtan. So, Madam Speaker, Zamtan is located as you enter Kitwe in Kamfinsa constituency. Clearly, the distance between Zamtan and where the resource center is located on the other side of our city, Madam Speaker, there's quite a distance. So the proposal to establish a skills training center in Zamtan is supposed to accommodate the residents of Kakolo Farm Block. It is supposed to accommodate the young people from Misaka B5. It is supposed to accommodate those that are on this side of the city, Madam Speaker. Clearly, it is well positioned to accommodate the young people that need these services. So I want to find out from you, against that background, Minister of Youth, Sport and Art. We're aware that in other districts, you are building resource centers with funding from the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Art. You're not using CDF. And that is why, Madam Speaker, I directed the question to him. So I want to find out, in your planning for 2026, in your planning for 2027, in the planning of the ministry for the many years to come, is there no provision, Madam Speaker, to allocate resources directly from the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Art towards this very, very important resource center that will cover the entire farm block of Kamfinsa constituency? Madam Speaker, that is my first follow-up question. I thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member, for that very, very important and elaborate question. Madam Speaker, knowing Kitwe indeed is very right. I know Kitwe. In fact, I was the district chairman for UPND, Kitwe, Kitwe district. So I understand all the areas in Kitwe. So I do understand. Now, Madam Speaker, when we consider distance, and I'm happy that you are aware, Madam Speaker, that Chimwemwe and Kamfinsa, they are not very far apart. Yes, it could be 10 kilometers apart. But I think accessing KVTC can be accessed even for the people of Kamfinsa constituency. Now, the issue is, Honourable Member of Parliament, I didn't say that we will not give you the resource center. Oh, I said that government, in fact, this is the only government that has prioritized skills development. Yeah. So we would want to have so many skills training centers in almost every district. But, Madam Speaker, the resource envelope may not allow us to do all the 116 resource centers at a go. I don't think that is possible. That's why we said government is very desirous to give our young people of Kamfinsa constituency the much needed resource center. And I'm happy that the Honourable Member of Parliament is passionately looking for that resource center. And this is how it should be, because indeed it means that you care for the young people. But because of the resource envelope, Madam Speaker, it may not be possible for us to give them a resource center now. Yes, we said we do not have immediate plans, meaning Plans may be there, but we just do not have immediate plans. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, the Minister hasn't responded to the question. The question was basically, which financial year is there a 5-year strategic plan for the ministry where resource centers are sitting, where resources are being provided to those that are sitting in a 2-year plan? There must be a plan somewhere sitting with the ministry. And I thought that since we've seen, Madam Speaker, I want to repeat, we've seen the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Art building resource centers in other constituencies within Zambia. And the message from Kamfinsa is very simple. The CDF is being used for other projects. There are water schemes that we are building in the constituency because we have water challenges. We have schools that we are building using the same component. There are maternity annexes that we are building. So there's no funding to do the scale of a resource center, Madam Speaker, that should sit in Zampton to accommodate Kakolo. And I think I listed down the farm blocks that would benefit from this very, very important resource center. So, Madam Speaker, I still want to find out from the Minister, unless there are no such plans even in the future, then I'll convey that message to the people. But I'm assuming that there must be a plan within the ministry. And that is why I'm asking, Minister, unless the officers who have accompanied you or who are briefing you have not provided you with that information, but clearly, Madam Speaker, government must plan for these activities. Minister, I still want to find out, which financial year do we tell our people in Zampton that government will be able to provide the resources to build a resource center in Zampton? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Madam Speaker, this is a minister who really understands this ministry very well. Very, very well. So when we are talking about strategic, if the Honorable Member had asked about a strategic plan, I would have provided an answer to a strategic plan. So just to tell me that you have now brought in another question of, do you have a strategic plan? And the answer is yes. We do have strategic plans. On sport, we have strategic plans that will be constructing 2 multi-sports facilities every year. That's a strategic plan. When it comes to youth resource centers, we have a strategic plan, Madam Speaker, that will be at least constructing 2 youth resource centers per year. Now, the answer is looking for, Madam Speaker, is for me to commit myself, to commit government, that tomorrow the resource center will be built. Or next year. No, what we are looking at now is where there is need. Because in Kaputa, where I'm coming from, the Vice President will be able to bear me witness. We do not have a youth resource center there. But I'm the Minister of Youth and Sport. So what we are looking for is a situation where now we are giving these resource centers where there is a lot of need. And Madam Speaker, Kitwe, as I stated, they have a Kitwe Vocational Training Center that they can use. There are also other districts without, like Kaputa, without any resource center. They are coming to, some of them to Rwansha, some of them go to Lukasha, some of them comes to Mwense. We do not have. So when we see the need, definitely we are going to allocate that particular resource center the Honorable Member is looking for. Now, he's saying, what message is he taking with him to his constituents? And the message is, we have the desire to construct a youth resource center in Kafinsa constituency, only when the resources are available. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, I am pleased to be offered a chance to interact with our Honor, the Vice President, via question number 298.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, In response to the questions asked by Mr. Mtotwe Kafuaya, Member of Parliament for Lunte constituents, who has asked the following questions. A, how many public service workers were placed on holding position as of January 2026? B, if any, what the longest period served in a holding position was as of the date above? Madam Speaker, government response is as follows. A, the Public Service Management Division has 79 officers on holding as of January 2026. The above number includes those recorded from the Foreign Service. Madam Speaker, from the division's record, that is Part B, from the division's record of officers on holding, the longest period served in a holding position is 8 years at the level of director. You may further wish to note that the division has been identifying and placing officers in various ministries, institutions, according to their qualifications and competences. The process has been slow and heavily dependent on approved structures and needy areas. In the interim, the division has been placing officers on attachment to various institutions where their services are required and ensure that officers continue to provide a service within the wider civil service as they await redeployment as and when available. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? Supplementary questions? Is the point of order on the Vice President? Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, I would like to appreciate your response. Your Honor, the public workers who are on holding positions are hearing for themselves what you are saying. And when we go out there, they'll be able to speak to your response and, of course, to my interaction with you. Your Honor, as UPND government, where do you think you have really lost as a result of having these people on holding position? Is it on the finance side of government, where you can regret the salaries you have been paying these people without working? Or is it the opportunity lost by the lost service? Thank you, Madam.
Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Member, I don't think we should be talking of losses here. Anybody like yourself, Honorable Member, who has been in government knows that this is not a new situation. There are situations that make people be put on holding. This government has done very well in terms of not firing people. In the previous, yes, I can tell you that I think when we came, Madam Speaker, into government, we found 51 people on holding. So we should not make a situation look like this is today. This has been going on. 51 on holding. But against that, you will remember the outcry, because you have said people are listening. And that is true. That is what we are doing here, speaking to the Zambians. That is against so many other people that were fired in national interest, which the president said that should not happen. If anybody is fired, let it be in public interest, not in national interest. So if we have issues of national interest, we are not retrenching people, we are not firing people, we are not retiring people. They remain on holding until a position is found where they are qualified, where they have competences. We only fire, if we have to fire, that is after passing through all the processes of disciplinary code. This is why you see it this way. Nobody is being fired in national interest as it was previously. This is why we are with these people, those who have been recalled and those that, where there may be some form of restructuring and therefore reduction in one way or the other of the workers, and then people are put on holding. I think it is a more friendly way to do things than fire people and call it national interest. Let us not paint a picture like this is UPND. This is running government. It has been happening, and this government is doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chirubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
A point of order.
Yes, it's a point of order.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's on the Minister of Communication. Ever since he came in this parliament today,
the Minister of
Honorable Tari, to be specific. Minister of Transport, sorry. Yes. Minister of Transport. No, but those are trivialities. Come on. Ever since he came in this today, he has actually not been dozing but sleeping. So I wanted maybe you can give him a break to go and rest. Yeah, because we all come here late.
The Honorable Member for Chirubi, I'm looking at the Minister for Transport. He is wide awake. So the Honorable Member for Chirubi, your point of order is not admissible. You didn't even cite the standing orders. We make progress. The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you for giving me a second bite at my question to our Honor the Vice President. As I do, Your Honor, I would like to reflect on your words that you have done very well as the UPND government when it comes to firing people. This is partly why you have maintained people in the holding position, because you do not want to fire them. I will remind you that 58 senior police officers were fired by your government. And also army generals were fired for no reason by your government, and the numbers are there, Your Honor. I can give you a series of people that you have fired. They are in thousands. So to claim that you have done well may not be very accurate. However, my question, Your Honor, is these people are not working. They are at home. Okay? And they have not been working, some of them for 8 years, as you have put it. And the government is there. The money that these people are earning is taxpayers' money. It's not anyone's money, it's taxpayers. The businessmen and women and workers are contributing for paying people who are at home doing nothing. Your Honor, the Vice President, are you sympathetic to the taxpayer who is financing these government decisions? Thank you, Your Honor.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Member, I appreciate your questioning style. Yes, if anybody has been fired, I think they have a right. I am saying if anybody has been fired, and there are some whose contracts entail that there is termination of contract. Let us Okay. You have asked your questions. I am responding. So just listen, Honorable Son. Yeah, some are on contract. They may have been terminated. Others, if they were fired, I said there's no government which doesn't fire. I was talking of firing in national interest, which is different from being retired. In fact, I didn't say fire. I said people are retired in national interest. People were being retired in national interest, which was literally firing people. Because you don't just retire without an explanation. But you can fire and call it retire in public interest, which is with a matter, a case that is committed, incompetence or issues of that nature. Then people will be retired or fired. That is one way that the previous government used to look like the people are not so many. We have 79, and I can tell you that that is at January. As at now, there are others who have already been placed in other ministries, attached, kind of secondment, so that they are being productive. Yes, I am sympathetic to the resources, but the resources of the nation are shared according to the people as they participate in governance. And because you are restructuring or you have recalled somebody, then you must get rid of them? Is that your suggestion? My point, Honorable, is that the issue of holding position is provided for cases such as these. A person is recalled from foreign service. There is no position because positions have been filled. You don't just send them away. This is why this was created. It's part of the structure that must take care of the workers. So, indeed, some people may have been fired. Find out why they were fired. But it is not in national interest. That's what I'm saying. National interest. We don't have that. But holding positions, honorable colleagues, will forever be there because there will be need to move a person innocently or for some minor issue and it does not deserve to be fired, will remain in holding for some time. And even in saying how long, you asked how long some people have been there. It's not a long list of people. Probably there is one or two. It's not that we have so many that are in holding positions. This is what it is. It is a government way of restructuring, a government way of taking care of people that find themselves out of the system for a reason other than committing an offense. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Thank you, Honorable Vice President. Just as a follow-up question, Madam Speaker, this question is not coming on this floor of the House for the first time. I remember about 2 years ago, I raised a similar question to our Honorable Vice President during the Vice President question session. And it was about 2 years ago, and I had indicated that the information which was available was that more than 400 public sector workers have been placed in holding positions. And this has been the complaint, and I am aware also that just recently, at the Ministry of Health, we have a number of workers, again, who have been sent home. These are workers who are at home, earning a salary. So, Your Honor, the Vice President, I know you come from you have a trade union background. Don't you think it's an injustice, surely, to keep people 8 years, 4 years, they're at home, but meanwhile they were written to say that they will be reassigned. But surely 4, 5 years, I was just talking to one of the workers who has been working at the Department of Registration 4 years from 2022 in holding position. So why don't you retire these workers, Your Honor, the Vice President? Because that's what they are saying, that if you feel they are not wanted, because they are earning a salary for doing nothing. So why don't you retire these workers so that they are able to start their living afresh than torturing them in that manner? I thank you.
Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam. Honorable Member for Chama North is bringing numbers that I'm not aware of. To start with, I don't have 400 people on the information I have.
The Honorable Member for Chama North, please try to be factual. Don't just bring numbers. Show evidence that those numbers are there. Honor the Vice President, you may proceed.
Thank you. I was disputing the 400 people on holding. I am not aware of that. And like I've given 79. Now, the Honorable Member brings a suggestion that why don't you retire them? As what? In national interest as it was before? There is no such provision in the law of retiring Mr. Lieberman. There is no law to retire a person who has not committed any disciplinary issue, but they find themselves for a reason competing for a position that probably has now been given to one office. If there were two, do you really retire them? And what is retirement? Normal retirement is guided by the number of years. You don't get a young man of 35 and then say, we will retire them. That will not be retirement. That can only happen if they have committed an offense, you know that. That will be retirement in public interest. So if there is no public interest, we cannot. But truly, the 400 I've disputed, Madam, I'm not aware of such figures from the Ministry of Health. No one has been sent home from the Ministry of Health. Yes, we have different categories of people on holding, like directors. It's not easy to place directors. Assistant directors, remember, many ambassadors are at assistant director level. So when they are recalled, they are held in a holding. So I think that what I want to say, Madam, is let not a picture be created here that something abnormal has happened. In fact, the abnormal was when people were being treated as the Honorable Member has suggested. Because you can't find a position for me, then you retire me at 30 years. That is against the law. That is against the law. We are lawful, Madam. We will not retire people before their age if they have not committed something wrong that deserves that that person be retired in public interest. Thank you.
Thank you. The last member, the Honorable Member for Chiruvi.
I think the explanation has overtaken my question.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 299.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Miyutu of Kalabo Central asked the Minister of Education, A, how many assessment examinations learners are required to write from Form 1 to Form 4 under the revised curriculum, and B, what the consequences of failing the examinations are. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that A, the number of assessments and examinations under the 2023 curriculum, learners from Form 1 to Form 4 are assessed and examined as follows. 1, school-based assessment. Learners undergo continuous school-based assessment from Form 1 to Form 4 in accordance with approved SBA guidelines. Schools submit annual SBA marks to the Examinations Council of Zambia. 2, school certificate examination. At the end of Form 4, learners sit for the National School Certificate Examination. The final examination marks are combined with SBA marks to determine the learner's final grade for certification. In addition, the National Assessment of Learning Achievement is conducted periodically as a sample-based system monitoring exercise. NAS does not provide individual learner results and is therefore not a mandatory examination for learners. And B, learners who complete both SBA and the final school certificate examination receive grade results and are awarded either a school certificate or a statement of results depending on performance. However, the consequences for learners who fail the examinations are as follows. 1, learners who fail from 1 to 4 examinations are or do not meet the minimum requirements for progression to advanced level, that's Form 5, are not selected to attend Form 5, but may pursue alternative pathways, including technical education or skills training. 2, learners who fail to attain satisfactory results may resit examinations through the general examinations of education. And 3, learners who do not have complete SBA or final examination marks are not graded, as ECZ does not grade partial results. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The consultations are becoming louder. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, for the continuous assessment, is there a standardized form of assessment, or it is according to the choice of the school? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
They are standardized, and there's a standardized booklet.
Thank you. Any more questions? Satisfied? Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 300.
The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Mukosa asks the Minister of Information and Media, A, whether government has any plans to provide the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation Muchinga Provincial Studio in Chinsali District with studio equipment. In B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, government has plans to provide studio equipment to all the provincial studios, including the ZNBC Muchinga Provincial Studio in Chinsali District under the Digital Migration Program. As you are aware already, the implementation of the program stalled in 2020 due to the country's debt challenges. However, the Ministry of Information and Media is in constant engagement with the Ministry of Finance and National Planning to secure the necessary funding to complete the remaining 10% of the project. The outstanding works, Madam Speaker, mainly relate to the completion of the construction of provincial studios and the installation of studio equipment, including that of Mchinga. In B, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Information has plans indeed to complete the remaining 10% of the works. C, therefore, falls out. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I haven't understood clearly what you have said. You have said that the ministry or the government has plans to provide equipment for the ZNBC studios in Chinsali. When is this likely to happen? When is the government planning to do this? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Madam Speaker, plans are already there. As the Member of Parliament is very well aware, the UPND government is also coming back on the 13th August 2026, and these plans will be successfully completed. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just for the sake of clarity, he's saying that I'm aware that the UPND is coming back. I would like to state that I am not aware of that fact, Madam Speaker, but I still want to understand the answer to the question that I asked, because from what the Minister responded, he didn't address my question. My question is, when is the government going to provide equipment for the ZNBC studios in Chinsali, or the ZNBC studios that are in Chinsali in Muchinga province? The Minister is saying the government has plans, and I've heard. My question now is, can he state when that is going to happen? That's what I would like to understand, Madam Speaker. In case he doesn't provide that answer again, I would like you to help me, because I will not have an opportunity to ask the question again. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Madam Speaker, we are very positive that in 2027, the provincial studio and the studio equipment will be provided to Chinsali. Very, very positive, Madam Speaker. This is already in our budget plans. The funds will be made available. Madam Speaker, I even have very good news for you. My support staff have just reminded me that actually some of this equipment is already available and will be paid for shortly. So this is a good news for the people of Chinsali, who have assured us that come 13th August, the United Party for National Development will be successfully voted into power so that they can complete this project successfully. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the new Dawn government, for the first time, is constructing an airport in Nakonde. I know Chinsali Airport is also being upgraded. Many other infrastructure development is taking place using CDF in Muchinga province. And this studio, ZNBC studios, play a very critical role in informing the people of not only Chinsali, but the entire Muchinga province, because these studios which will be located or have been constructed in Chinsali will be able to showcase what the new Dawn government is doing in the entire province to the nation. Is there a short time measure that you can put in place before 2027 to ensure that this development that President Hakainde Hichilema is rolling out in Chinsali and in Mchinga in particular, Mchinga province in particular, can be showcased probably before 13th August for the appreciation of the people of Mchinga as well as the people of this nation? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you for that very, very important question. And indeed, we hope, we are very, very confident that the sole candidate of the UPND, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will continue providing infrastructure to all corners of the country. You are right, Honorable Member, that President Hakainde Hichilema has upgraded many airports throughout this republic. Madam Speaker, Nakonde, we are coming there, we in ground break.
Order, Honorable Member for Nakonde. Order. Order.
Government is a continuous process. It's even tomorrow we'll still bring development. On 13th August, we'll still be bringing development. After 13th August, we will bring development. Our aim is to bring development throughout this republic. The short answer to the question, Madam Speaker, is what urgent measures can we do? I'm sure you heard me say correctly that my team guided me that the equipment is available. What we'll do is we'll make this payment urgently so that Chinsali can have this equipment. Madam Speaker, let me assure the Member of Parliament, this is a constituency-based question, it's not your constituency, sir. Sit down. So Chinsali will have this equipment in the shortest possible time. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chiengi, what is your point of order? She was the first one.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was just a bit worried that the Member of Parliament for Chama South was saying there's so much of development which has been taking place under CDF. Madam Speaker, as you are aware, I'm a presidential candidate. If you go to Kanyama and Kalingalinga here, you shed tears. He is not supposed to be bluffing the Zambians when the Zambians are going through pain. Was he in order? And the standing order is number 71. He is in order to try and appease his bosses here, the UPND leadership, when the Zambians are suffering. I need your serious indulgence, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chiengi, my ruling is that the Honorable Member for Chama South was in order because he was talking about development in Muchinga, not in Kanyama or any other part of Zambia. He specifically mentioned Muchinga. So the Honorable Member for Chama South was in order to mention any development. You may take your seat, Honorable Member for Kanyama. Otherwise, we'll continue dealing with points of order. I make a ruling, another point of order. I make a ruling, another point of order. Can we make progress? I'll get back to you at the right time. The last member, the Honorable Member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's not every question that we must politicize in this House. For me, I am aware that the construction of provincial studios is a marriage between ZNBC and Star Times. They went into partnership and contracted a loan. Okay? So this is the loan which Star Times and ZNBC are using to renovate ZNBC in Lusaka, to renovate the studio in Kitwe and other studios, and also to construct new studios. So this project, Madam Speaker, started way back in 2018, and the money that is being used is as a result of the loan that they contracted. Now, I was just surprised with...
The Honorable Member for Bangweulu, are you trying to debate or respond to the question?
Madam Speaker, sometimes...
We are at a point when you are supposed to ask a supplementary question.
Sometimes, Madam Speaker, it's important to put a question in context and its historical perspective so that the listeners and those who are following these proceedings, they get the correct information, Madam Speaker. So my question is, Honorable Minister, since you initially said that when you find money to buy these equipments? Has the money that was sourced through the loan, has it been exhausted? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Thank you very much for that very, very important question. Let me repeat my answer. I said very, very quickly, very, very clearly. Madam Speaker, I said that the implementation of the program stored in 2020 due to the country's debt challenges. That was a time when the PF government could not even pay any small, not make any small payments. Debt challenges. The country was in debt distress. The economy was shrinking under the PF. So that is a time, Honorable Member of Parliament. So we are talking about a time now when we have restructured the debt. We are talking about a time when the economy is growing. So we are talking at a time when we are able, and we will be paying for that equipment in a very short, very, very soon. So that debt was, that in Congole was not performing. So therefore, government will find the money for the people of Chinsali, and that equipment will be sent to Chinsali in due course. Honorable Mkosa, very, very soon, sir. Tell our good people of Chinsali that His Excellency, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the sole candidate to the UPND, will bring this equipment to Chinsali. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nakonde, is it a point of order or a question?
Madam Speaker, it's just a follow-up question. Madam Speaker, riding on the question that the Honorable Member for Bangweuru has asked, Madam Speaker, the money was there. It was a loan. So we want to find out if this money, which was in form of the loan, has been exhausted for the minister to say, we are going to look for another money. The money was there. So, where is the money that was contracted through a loan? Since now you want to find another money. That's the question which we want to find out, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Information and Media.
Madam Speaker, I think I've been very, very clear with my answers. If you look at projects, infrastructure projects, which were started then, most of them were not completed. Some dates were cancelled. Government, I want to repeat, government is now looking for money. In fact, government has found the money to pay for this equipment. And this equipment will be delivered to Chinsali very, very soon. Again, I want to assure the people of Chinsali through Honorable Mukosa, sir, you will receive this equipment in your constituency in due course. President Hakainde Hichilema is serious with ensuring that the resources of the country are equitably distributed. So Chinsali will receive their fair share. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The last member, the Honorable Member for Chawama.
Order, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Sports is too noisy here. He's supposed to be seated there. He has come in making so much noise. He's disturbing us. He's in order to be shouting here and making serious and deep noise. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I thought it was a supplementary question. What has been breached, Honorable Member for Chawama?
And the decorum.
Thank you. I'm sure the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport is just having a small meeting. Will eventually go back to his seat. Next question, the Honorable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 301.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the people of Kalabo do ask the Minister of Tourism what measures government is taking to promote tourism in Kalabo district. Madam Speaker, in an attempt to respond to the question, government through my ministry, the Ministry of Tourism, recognizes Kalabo as one of Zambia's uniquely endowed tourism destinations anchored by the Luya Plains National Park, one of Zambia's oldest, or rather Africa's oldest national parks and home of the world's second largest wildebeest migration. In this regard, Madam Speaker, a number of key initiatives have been undertaken to promote tourism in Kalabo. 1, infrastructure development to improve accessibility and connectivity. Government does have plans to develop infrastructure in the district. The infrastructure is aimed at improving accessibility and connectivity in the area, which will make it easy to include Kalabo and the surrounding areas with tourism circuit and packaging. That is rehabilitating and refurbishing of the Kalabo airstrip to bituminous standard, improving 150-kilometer access roads within Kalabo district, and obviously expanding the involvement of communities in the park through the provision of 3.5 million kwacha of nature-based matching grants. Secondly, Madam Speaker, we are partnering with African Parks in the Department of National Parks and Wildlife in enhancing conservation initiatives with Luya Plains National Park, including anti-poaching operations, wildlife restocking, and community-based natural resource management. Madam Speaker, we further on are promoting investment in tourism infrastructure. The ministry has included Kalabo in the natural tourism investment profile to attract investment in eco-lodges, cultural tourism facilities, and adventure tourism. Fourthly, Madam Speaker, we are talking about enhancing tourism marketing and promotion of Kalabo district by scaling up marketing efforts to raise the profile of Kalabo district and Luya Plains National Park. As part of these efforts, we have introduced through my ministry a promotion called Yamuloko television program, which recently filmed Luya Plains National Park and the surrounding areas in the episode to be aired in May of 2026. Notable, Madam Speaker, is that the episodes are dedicated in showcasing tourism products in Western Province, including that of Kalabo. Last but not the least, Madam Speaker, the support to community-based tourism initiatives, which obviously government continues to support community participation in tourism through training, product development, and the promotion of events such as the Kuomboka ceremony that we just recently celebrated, which benefits Kalabo and the surrounding areas with increased visitor inflows and spending. These measures, Madam Speaker, do reflect government's commitment to unlocking Kalabo's tourism potential, improving livelihoods, and ensuring that the district becomes an integral part of Zambia's diversified tourism economy. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that comprehensive response. However, Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out, because right now, from the inquiries that I've made, it's like you can't visit the park now. Maybe you can clarify. Why is it that one cannot visit the park now, this time of the year, like it is April, February, March? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm sure I noticed the General nodding his head and wondering why we would be accessing the Luya Plains National Park at this time of the year, when we all know that the plains at this time of the year, and that's why we were embarked much, much earlier, because the floodplains are extremely pregnant, the floodplains are completely submerged, and this is the nature of the industry, the nature of the place that we're talking about. You will not be able to access the Liwa Plains National Park at the moment because we have so much water, and we're very delighted, Madam Speaker, that that same water that you're seeing in the plains, which is not allowing us to actually access it at the moment, is the one that is going to help us generate the much-needed power that we want to have at the Kariba. So, Madam Speaker, and as per tradition and as per tourism calendar, between the months of November all the way through to April into May, most of these areas in the surrounding areas in the parks are inaccessible. And I just want to indicate to my Honorable Member of Parliament for Kalabo that we are looking at ways and means on how we'll be able to make them accessible even when there are wet conditions such as this. But as is, Madam Speaker, we still pride ourselves as leaving the plains as wet as they are, as flooded as they are, so that they create a natural beauty for us to move from Lialui all the way to Limulunga, which was a marvel just last month. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The last question, the Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Question number 302.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Karalwe Mukosa Chinsali, to ask the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock 3 questions. A, whether the government has any plans to build camp houses for fisheries and livestock extension officers in Chinsali district. And B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And finally, if there are no plans, why? Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Answer to A, in reply to the question raised by Honorable Member for Chinsali, Honorable Karalwe Mukosa, on whether government has any plans to construct camp houses for fisheries and livestock extension officers in Chinsali district, I wish to inform this august House that, yes, indeed, government has such plans. The House may wish to note that the construction of the camp houses has already been incorporated in the Chinsali District Integrated Development Plan. This plan clearly outlines infrastructure development priorities aimed at enhancing service delivery across sectors. With regard to fisheries and livestock camp house, the plan has a provision to rehabilitate 3 camp houses and construct 2 more to make it 5. Answer to question B, as outlined in A above, these plans remain active and have been duly incorporated into the Chinsali District Integrated Development Plan. However, owing to funding constraints experienced in previous years, their implementation was not prioritized in the 2026 national budget. Answer to question C, in responding to the question on why there would be no plans to construct camp houses for fisheries and livestock extension officers in Chinsali district, the House may wish to note that this question does not arise, as government does indeed have plans to construct these camp houses. Madam Speaker, allow me to give some more supplementary information on the subject. Chinsali district currently has a provision for 5 fisheries and livestock camps. However, only 3 camp houses have been constructed over the years. Regrettably, Madam Speaker, all the 3 houses are in a dilapidated and uninhabitable condition. As a result, none of the extension officers is currently accommodated in the existing camp houses. Madam Speaker, submit.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, as you are aware, and I think everybody knows, Our extension officers under the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, they play a very important role in supporting the district in Chinsali as well as the country. And you have indicated that your ministry has plans to, or rather the government has plans to rehabilitate the 3 camp houses that are in dilapidated condition and has plans to build 2 more new houses. Considering that this will not materialize in this fiscal year 2026, when should the people of Chinsali expect these very important works pertaining to rehabilitation of the 3 houses, as well as construction of 2 houses for our livestock and fisheries extension officers going to be done? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I anticipate that the rehabilitation of these existing 3 camp houses will be included in the 2026-2027 budget I submit.
The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Madam Speaker, I would like to find out from the Minister what currently is being done, considering that our extension officers for livestock and fisheries are not accommodated. We are not accommodating them in government houses. So where are they staying? What are they using? Is government giving them some kind of fund to, on allowance to find houses where they are staying as they are doing this very important work for this country? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Madam Speaker, I need to check the conditions of service regarding accommodation to our camp houses, and I can get back to this House to inform exactly position I submit.
Thank you. Motion, the Honorable Member for Kaoma Central.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 10th April 2026.
Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
Order. Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chembe. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the operations and management of police permanent security checkpoints and mounted patrols for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 10th April 2026. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Kaoma Central.
Madam Speaker, in line with these terms of reference, the committee considered the topical issue, operations and management of police, permanent security checkpoints and mounted patrols. In carrying out this important task, the committee sought both written and oral submissions from various stakeholders. Madam, I am confident that the members of the August House have read the committee's report. I will therefore only highlight a few issues that caught the committee's attention during its interaction with the stakeholders. Madam Speaker, the committee observes with concern that while the Constitution and the Police Act provide general policing powers, there is no comprehensive statutory framework specifically regulating the establishment, number, duration, oversight, and operational standards of permanent security checkpoints. The absence of clear legislative parameters has resulted in excessive administrative discretion, limited transparency, and weakened public accountability. The committee, therefore, recommends that the Zambia Police Act be amended to establish a clear and a structured framework governing permanent security checkpoints and mounted patrols, including the publication and the designation of authorized locations and the accessibility of such publications. Madam Speaker, the committee notes with concern that the lack of suitable infrastructure at most permanent checkpoints, many do not have paved pullouts, inspection bays, truck holding yards, adequate lighting, sanitation facilities, or reliable ICT connectivity. This has resulted in congestion, accelerated road deterioration, safety risks to officers and motorists, and compromised enforcement standards. The committee, therefore, recommends that suitable checkpoint infrastructure be integrated into national road development and the concession agreements as a mandatory design feature, particularly along major trade corridors. Madam Speaker, the other issue worth of note is the limited deployment of modern enforcement technology tools such as CCTV surveillance, automated cargo verification systems, digital vehicle document verification, and integrated data management platforms. These remain largely unavailable due to funding constraints. In comparative jurisdictions such as South Africa and Botswana, enforcement relies heavily on data-driven systems such as automatic number plate recognition rather than routine physical roadblocks. These countries have further placed emphasis on intelligence-led and mobile operations. The committee, therefore, recommends that Zambia must progressively transition toward technology-enabled intelligence-driven enforcement models in order to reduce congestion, minimize discretionary stops, and enhance transparency. Madam Speaker, the committee notes serious human resource constraints in the Zambia Police Service. Currently, the police service is operating with 21,944 officers, serving a population of about 19.6 million people. This translates into a policing ratio of 1 police officer to about 894 citizens. This is contrary to the United Nations benchmark ratio of 1 police officer to 450 citizens. The shortage of police officers has resulted in long shifts, fatigue, and inconsistent deployment at checkpoints. The committee, therefore, recommends accelerated recruitment to progressively attain the benchmark ratio alongside continuous professional training in human rights, compliance searches, traffic management, customer service, and risk-based enforcement. Lastly, Madam Speaker, the committee wishes to emphasize that well-designated security systems can enhance economic efficiency rather than hinder it. Further, appropriate legislative reforms, infrastructure investment, technology integration, institutional coordination, and integrity safeguards, permanent security checkpoints, and mounted patrols can serve their intended purpose without imposing social or economic costs. As I conclude, allow me, Madam, to render my sincere gratitude to you and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the services rendered to the committee throughout its deliberations. Gratitude is also expected to all stakeholders who provided the committee with valuable information which formed the basis of the report before the House today. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chembe.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me the opportunity to second this progressive motion before this August House. Allow me to also thank the mover of the motion and the chairperson of the committee, Brigadier General Morgan Stwala, MP, for the able manner in which he presided over the committee deliberations. Madam Speaker, I will restrict my comments to 3 issues.
Order. As the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. We do expect business to continue at 17 hours. Just to mention that on the floor of the House is a seconder to a motion that has been moved by Kalma Central Member of Parliament, that says Brigadier General Morgan Stwala, who moved a motion to adopt the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs, that the House adopts the report of the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs on the operations and management of police permanent security checkpoints and mounted patrols for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 10th April 2026. And the seconder to this motion, that's Chamber Member of Parliament, Mr. Cliff Mpundu, was on the floor of the House seconding this particular motion. We do expect him to continue at 17 hours when we expect business to continue. And just to mention that there's a lot that's happened on the floor of the House from the time business commenced. Taza.
Yes, indeed. The House has considered about 8 questions for oral answer, understanding Order 80. These are questions of ordinary nature, and of course, the House did consider some urgent matters without notice. We must make mention that Madam First Deputy Speaker did make some announcements, and we just get into the details of the announcements.
Okay, so in one of the many announcements that Madam First Deputy Speaker made earlier on today was when she recognized the presence in the Speaker's gallery of 9 members of Parliament and staff from the European Parliamentary Forum, EPF, for sexual reproductive rights. And there were 7 members of Parliament in total and 2 members of staff from the European Parliamentary Forum. Just to mention that this delegation is being led by Honorable Enrique Brasstotter, MP from Austria, and as I said, he's the head of delegation. So, Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, did receive and welcome the distinguished guests to the National Assembly of Zambia.
Yes, indeed, and thereafter, Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of the following visitors: pupils and teachers from Konkola Copper Mines Secondary School and students from Cavendish University in Lusaka District. Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly. And in the other announcement, Madam First Deputy Speaker informed the House that on Wednesday, 8th April 2026, during the presentation of government bills, the Green Economy and Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026, was referred to the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism. Madam Speaker, however, stated that it has been brought to our attention that the said committee has other work to attend to. In this regard, the National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026 has been referred to the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements for consideration. And Madam First Deputy Speaker did state that the committee is required to submit its report to the House in due course. She also said that all honourable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the programme of work of the committee. And so those are the announcements that Madam First Deputy Speaker made, and that's just about the business that the House has considered so far. Just now, we take a break. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Parliament TV, bringing Parliament closer to you.